everyone. This is Tia Torres, and thanks for joining me on another Wild Instincts. So, we got more story time today. I'll tell you, it's fun going down memory lane, especially during this time of my life. As so much stressful as it was, this experience turned out to be life changing for me. And I mean that with the utmost sincerity. This adventure, trip, uh, work project, whatever you want to call it, that I went on, it literally taught me, it was the foundation for everything I needed to become just an understanding dog trainer and dog handler. Uh, God, I was so glad I got the opportunity. Okay, so where were we? Um, we landed in Sri Lanka. The flying Noah's Ark landed in Sri Lanka. Now, I had done a little bit of research, on what Sri Lanka was like. I saw a lot of jungle, just beautiful landscape. I mean, yes, I probably saw the touristy pictures, um, but I was expecting a lot of greenery, just trees and whatnot. Now at this time, don't forget, I lived in California. I lived in the high desert. So although I was used to hot weather, I was not experienced with humidity. As a matter of fact, I had never been in a humid climate at this point. So when we landed, the doors opened, and the first thing that hits you is the weather. We got there during the summertime, of course, and it was suffocating. It was absolutely just, I've never experienced anything like that in my life. And that comes from someone living in Louisiana. Okay. It was a welcoming sight to see the rest of the crew, the trainers, the handlers. They flew on and got there ahead of us, of course, to help unload the animals. Um, the second thing I noticed was mm, it wasn't it wasn't a very welcoming, it was kind of dirty, this particular area that we were at. I was like, "Ooh." I mean, we were at the airport, but it was still ew. And there was like a smell. Like, I don't even it smelled. Um, so that's when I realized, yes, at the time, Sri Lanka was considered, almost like a third world country. Very poor, low economic, a lot of without. They did a lot of things that they just didn't have the means to get. Okay, so it's time to unload the animals. There was a convoy of trucks that we were to load the animals into. My wolf dogs were to go into a van along with, Tatanka. And our boss man, his name was Brian McMillan. He was from England. I'm saying this for a reason because it will play it will play into other storylines in my saga. And the language that everybody spoke there was mostly Sinhalese, what they call Sinhalese, and very difficult, very quick, very fast-paced language. But it was it was strange. It was definitely something that I was not accustomed to. Let's put it that way. And as they're unloading the animals, and let me see if I can remember the list. There was Romeo, the African lion. Now, mind you, there was no lion in the story, The Jungle Book. The reason Romeo had to come is because the only person that could get near him was Brian, our boss guy, and another guy named Hayden, but he was unavailable to take care of Romeo back in the United States. So Romeo had to come with us just because there was no one to take care of him. They couldn't get near him. So there was the African lion and then the tigers. We had Sarah and Shay. Uh, and I believe Sarah was like a Bengal tiger and Shay was like a Siberian tiger. So two female tigers. And then we had, and of course, they would play the part of Shere Khan in the story. Shere Khan was like the evil tiger. And then the leopards. We had both black leopards and spotted leopards. Uh, the spotted leopards, there was Flynn and also a cub, an older cub. God, I can't remember their names. And then there was a black young cub, and then two other black leopards. And they're called leopards because if you look deep into their hair, you can see black spots. Um, there was Shadow and there was Satchmo, and they were to play the part of Bagheera, which was a part of Mowgli's crew. Uh, then there were the bears. We had Bogey. He was to play the part of Baloo. And then there were two older cubs. Gosh, I can't remember their names either. And then uh, another stowaway was Baloo. Baloo was okay. Let me explain this. We actually had a bear named Baloo, but he was a grizzly bear, which of course Baloo in the Jungle Book was not a grizzly bear. Baloo had to come because only Scott, our bear handler, could get near him, and there was no one to take care of him back in the States. So Baloo and Romeo at this point just got a free ride to Sri Lanka. Who else are we missing? We had some monkeys. We had some capuchin monkeys, and there were also, I think, some Reese monkeys, and I can't remember their names. And my wolf dogs, of which there was, I believe, seven. Was there six or seven? I can't remember now. And then, of course, my pit bull Tatanka. Can't forget her. Oh, I have to take a swig of soda after that list. So, as we're unloading the animals and putting them onto trucks, you see the airport staff, and they're checking the animals off on the manifest. Which, it's interesting because if you saw this janky airport, you wouldn't think they were that official. Okay, but they were. And as we got to the very end, we got all the animals out, and they're rechecking the trucks and the other vehicles. And I noticed you could tell there was somewhat of a ruckus going on between the airport officials, one of our translators slash drivers, and then Brian, the boss man, got involved through the translator. We could tell something was going on, and a lot of arguing. And so, mind you, I am a first time movie trainer. I have never done this before. Okay. So I feel a little like a duck out of water. I mean, everybody else has been doing this for a while, um, with the exception of maybe a couple of people, but I'm a nobody, which explains why when Brian called me over to the ruckus, he's, hey, come here, Tia. I'm like, me? So I'm thinking, damn, did I just get important all of a sudden? No. Apparently, the airport staff decided that my pit bull Tatanka was a baby bear. And there was no little baby bear on the manifest. We had the two older cubs, but they were like the size of like a like a Shetland pony. They decided that Tatanka was like a little tiny baby bear, and let me explain to you why. Because we couldn't like why it's a dog. How would you think this is a baby bear? Okay, so she was a black brindle in color, so she was very dark. She had no ears. When she was confiscated, they had chopped her ears off to the skull. So she had little nubs, like nothing. There was nothing there. Um, which I guess kind of resembles a bear because bears have these little roundish ears. And what I'm about to say will play a part into something later. But she had hair. And I'm like, how do you not tell she's a dog? And they were insistent. That is not a dog. Our dogs here do not look like this. Remember that for later on, okay? And I'm like, and so they wouldn't let us leave. And there was a lot of yelling. And let me tell you something about the English, the British. Um, they have no filter. So, and this is someone, I am Scottish Irish. I was raised in a community of English when I grew up in Santa Monica. I know them very well. And Brian was letting them have it. Of course, they didn't understand a word he was saying. And he is cussing up a storm and yelling that my dog has caused all these problems. Mind you, I'm like, dude, you have an African lion and a grizzly bear as ride-alongs. Like, I just have a little 45-pound dog. But nonetheless, they would not give in. So after, I want to say a couple of hours, we were there a while. And mind you, it's hot. It is hot. All right. I see that people are finally like simmering down, shaking some hands, and he's like, let's go. And I'm like, what just happened? And he said, it's amazing what a few $100s will get you in a country like this. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm already feeling like a total heel. Like, again, this is my first big break as a movie trainer. And me and my dog, we almost got arrested in Amsterdam. We held up an entire, you know, zoo on wheels. And I'm like, oh my God. you know. So we were on our way to camp. And camp would be where we set up the animals and their facilities and our training areas. Now, mind you, I haven't even seen this place yet. I haven't even seen where we're going. The crew had gotten ahead of us, and along with some of the locals in the villages, built, our compound. We called it the compound. Well, we're on our way, and I'm told we have a few hours of driving, and uh, let's just say the trip gets really interesting. I learn more about the Sri Lankan culture. All right, well, stay tuned because we got more wild adventures coming up.